Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and the year, I wanted to say is almost over, but the first half of the year is over. At the time you're seeing this video, it's probably gonna be the end of July, so we have about 5 months left, a bit more than 5 months left of the year, which, let's not talk about this. And so because of that, I decided that now is a good time to look back at the 5-star predictions that I made in December of last year for the first half of the year, because I only made those predictions for the first half of the year. Look at whether or not I read those books, and also look at whether or not my predictions were correct. And then once that is done, we'll also set up some more predictions for the rest of the year. So yeah, before we get into the books, once again, let me reiterate, I do not rate books this year, aside from 5-star. So I'm not gonna tell you if a book happened to not be a 5-star, whether or not it was a 4-star, a 3-star, or whatever. I can tell you whether or not it was close to being a 5-star or not, but I won't tell you the specific rating that I ended up giving it, because I didn't end up giving it any rating. And then second, let me also quickly re-summarize what makes a 5-star read for me. There's two things about that. The first and arguably less important part is I personally want to feel like a book is well written, or like a book accomplishes what it intended to write, which for me often includes it being well written, because I personally enjoy beautiful language used. Beautiful language doesn't have to be purple prose, by the way, it can also be simply beautifully written. But yeah, so that's the first part. There has to be a well-written book that I find few things to actively criticize about. And then the second and more important part is that I have to build a connection with the book. I often cannot say what makes me build a connection with a book, but there has to be a connection made. I have to just love it. I have to love either the characters or the plot or something about the book that just makes me go, yes, this is a 5-star read. So yeah, that's how I judge whether or not a book is a 5-star read for me. And let's now get into the list I made in December. The first book was The Sword of Kaigen, and yeah, this was more than a 5-star. This was unbelievable, next level, gorgeous, beautiful. I cannot put into words how much I love this book. I loved it so much. Also, I do have a review of this book, so if you want to know exactly why I love this book so much, I will leave that link down below and up there. But yeah, the reason why I put this on my 5-star predictions list is because just a lot of people that I trust that have similar tastes to me absolutely love this book, and this book absolutely destroyed them. And so I was actually scared that I would go into this too hyped for this book and that this book wouldn't live up to the hype, but it absolutely did, and it shot out above the hype. It was so good. It destroyed me, and I love it so much. The next prediction was one of the books by Joe Abercrombie, because at the very beginning of the year I already had the intention of reading Joe Abercrombie, at least reading The Blade itself and the First Law trilogy. I have now finished the original First Law trilogy. I haven't gotten to the standalones and the second trilogy yet. And I have to say, even though there's still 6 books left, of the 3 books that I have read so far, there so far were not any 5 stars. The one I enjoyed the most was Before They Are Hanged, which is the second book in the First Law trilogy. I really enjoyed it, but there's just some things about this trilogy in general, things that you can find a lot in pre-2010 adult high fantasy, especially adult high fantasy written by men. And because of those things, I just didn't feel, even though I loved this book, I loved the second one, I don't think, even if those things hadn't existed, I don't think the first or the third one would have gotten 5 stars, but I think this one would have gotten 5 stars for me. But yeah, with those things, it's just didn't feel right for me to get this 5 stars, even though I did really love it. So yeah, that one sadly was a dud so far. But yeah, I still have 6 books left to get a 5-star read. The next prediction I had was The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, which is the first book in the Rook and Rose trilogy. And the reason why I thought this might be a 5-star read is first of all because of the vibes I got from this cover, and then second of all because both of the authors are anthropologists slash folklorists. And so I thought there were a lot of elements, or there would be a lot of elements that I could dig my claws into on an intellectual level. And I am very happy to say that I was correct in this prediction. I am so much better, or I was so much better at predicting my 5-star reads compared to last year, because last year I don't think I got a single one. But yeah, I absolutely loved and adored this book. I also have a review for this one, so I will leave it linked down below and up there. But this one includes just an amazing Venetian-inspired, colorful, vibrant setting, amazing characters that I absolutely fell in love with, and then also one of the best written queer normative worlds ever. And if you're interested what I mean with a queer normative world and what I count as a queer normative world, because I think I'm a lot more strict on that than a lot of other readers, I will leave my video that I did on sexuality and fantasy down below and up there. But yeah, just such a good book. Everyone go and read it. Another vibes 5-star prediction was The Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. The reason why I put this on my 5-star prediction list is because it's a bisexual Brides of Dracula retelling. And this one, I cannot even say if it's a 5-star or not, because I feel like objectively this is absolutely a 5-star read. This is a gorgeously written story that just goes so in depth into a toxic relationship, and it's just, as I said, beautifully written, amazing characters, even though you don't get to know them all that much because it's quite the short story. But the main character you do get to know very well, and you start feeling with her a lot and really start suffering with her in this toxic relationship that she is in. So it's objectively absolutely a 5-star read. But as I said, this kind of just, you know, not really able to define what makes me connect with a book. I feel like it wasn't quite there with this one. So I feel if I were to rate books this year, I'd probably give it like a 4.5 or 4.75 stars. So it's so close to a 5-star read to not even matter. But yeah, it wasn't quite there for me yet. Just not quite. The last of my 5-star predictions that I have actually already read is Son of the Storm by Sui Davis Okungbowa, and this one also was a 5-star prediction based on vibes as well as the cover, because gorgeous cover. But yeah, this one sadly was not a 5-star prediction. The month that I read this, I talked about it in my wrap-up, but there was just something about this book where I feel like I didn't read it at the right time. I think on a reread, if I reread this at the right time, it definitely could still become a 5-star read. But at the time when I read it, I just wasn't there enough. I just didn't have the mental capacity to properly dive into the story and dissect the story in the way it deserves to be read. So yeah, sadly wasn't a 5-star read, but I think I could bump it up to 5 stars in the future. And yeah, the last 2 5-star predictions I had are 2 books that I didn't get to. The first one was On Fragile Waves by E. Lily Yu, which I think was a literary fiction by an Afghan author, I believe, might be. And the second one is The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson, which is environmental high fantasy. But yeah, didn't get around to those 2, although both of those, if I get around to them by the end of the year, I think they're still on my 5-star predictions list. So that was it for my predictions for the first half of the year, and I think I honestly didn't do too bad. Like, I think I'm closer than last year. So yeah, let's see how I'm doing with the predictions for the second half of the year. The first I have is Joe Abercrombie is gonna stay on my predictions list. So I think one of the 6 books that I still have left in his first law world that I still have to read is gonna be a 5-star. I am keeping my fingers crossed that the elements that I have problems with are gonna be dealt with in later books and are not gonna be there anymore. or maybe at least, you know, kind of less there. And so I think one of his books is gonna be a 5-star. Like, I'm pretty sure. Next, I have the one 2021 release that's not published in the second half of the year, but that I kind of retroactively put on my 5-star predictions, kind of, if that makes sense. And that is The Black Coast by Mike Brooks. I mostly put this on my TBR or my anticipated releases for 2021 list because, first of all, the cover, and because, second of all, I heard there's armored dragons in there. But I have since then, first of all, heard a lot of amazing things about this book. Actually, not a lot, because there's not a lot of hype around this, but I've heard a few things that just make me think I will really, really appreciate this. Also, I have since found out that this is written by a queer author, and if there's one thing that we get even less than queer female or non-binary authors writing adult high fantasy, it's queer men, or openly queer men, writing adult high fantasy. And I don't know, something about that, maybe I'm just biased, but something about that makes me think that I will absolutely love this. And who knows, maybe I will already have started and finished this by the time you see this video, because this definitely is on my, you know, current TBR and one of the books that I want to pick up quite soon, and if possible, maybe in the next few days or weeks. Next, I have Star Eater by Kirsten. The reason why this is on my 5-star predictions list is purely because the prompt, or whatever you call it, for this book just sounds amazing, because it's cannibal nuns and zombies. How couldn't I put this on my 5-star predictions? Like, who would I be if I didn't put this on my 5-star predictions? Then, before we get into sequels that I think might be 5-star reads for me, I have Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And the reason why I put this on this list is, first of all, I mean, Silvia Moreno Garcia for me so far was hit or miss. I gave 5 stars to Gods of Jade and Shadow, but I really didn't like Mexican Gothic. However, this one is historical fantasy set in Mexico and vampires. So, you know, it's vampires. We all still love vampires, don't we? So yeah, I hope this one goes the route of Gods of Jade and Shadow and not Mexican Gothic, but I'm really excited to get to it. So lastly, we have a few sequels, so there's already a basis to why I think those might be 5-star reads. First, I have The Bronzed Beasts by Roshani Chokshi. I don't know where my brain just went. But The Bronze Beast by Roshani Chokshi, which is the third and the final book in the Gilded Wolf series. The second book, The Silvered Serpents, was on my 5-star predictions last year, but didn't quite make it to a 5-star read. The first one was a 5-star read for me, and I'm hoping the finale just hits it out of the park for me, so I decided to put it onto this predictions list. Then also I have, of course, Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third book in the Skyward series. Skyward is one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson series. It's his YA sci-fi space opera. Wow, I can't talk. It's his YA sci-fi space opera. I absolutely love the first book. I absolutely love the second book, but a little bit less than the first book. And I think I'm just gonna love the third book again, just a lot. If I love it as much as Skyward or not, it depends if there's certain interactions happening within the story that didn't happen in the second book. No spoilers. But yeah, so really excited to get to this, and I can't not put a Brandon Sanderson release on my 5-star predictions. Then I have a 5-star prediction that one of the 2 books that I still have left to read, or releases, whatever, in the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu is gonna be a 5-star. So I'm gonna have to read one book that's already out, which is Wall of Storms, and then the third book, which is The Veiled Throne, I believe it's called, is coming out in November, I think. And I love the first book. I love The Grace of Kings. It wasn't quite a 5-star book, it was one of those ones, but there's just so much about this story that I really think that one of the other two is definitely gonna be a 5-star book. So yeah, really excited to get to the other 2 books. And then the last 5-star prediction I have is The Liar's Knot by M.A. Carrick, which is the 2nd book in the Rook and Rose series. We just talked about how much I love the 1st book. The cover for the 2nd book was just released a few days ago of the filming of this video, and oh my god, I am so excited. I cannot wait. So yeah, definitely had to put this on there. I mean, you just saw me gushing earlier about the 1st book, so did you really think this one wouldn't make it on here? But yeah, that was it for this video, looking at how I did with the first batch of my 5-star predictions and making some new ones. If you have some thoughts on anything I said in this video, leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. Also tell me your 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. And yeah, all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. All the links to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, which is all about reading one adult high fantasy book written by a woman or genderqueer person per month, will also be left linked down below, so go and check those out as well. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!